We're live now, probably.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dishin Days, where we give you a full dish of this week's episodes of NBC's #1 award-winning hit soap opera, Days of Our Lives. I'm your host, Tony Moore, and I'm joined by my gaggle of gals. We have still given us Hulu streaming service Lumberjack Realness.
It's more like, what would this be, like 90s flannel or no?
Oh, so you're giving us grunge lumber.
Grunge, there you go.
Yes.
Grunge, but,
Grunge
still coiffed. Michael Mattis, how are you, everybody? What's up?
Of course, we have Decked Out in Blue.
Hey guys, Justin Hareld.
And giving us the hope jewelry around her neck, we have...
Hello, everyone. Miss Araceli here. Yes, available at Konex Sculptures online if you care to revisit that 2010 Hope Ray storyline.
Yes, nighttime hope.
Well, thank you all for joining us live. If you are listening to us on the podcast, thank you so much. And if you're tuning in right here on our YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe, whether you're here on the YouTube channel or on the podcast, and make sure you leave comments and rate us 5 stars and all the other things that you do. Hit the thumbs up button to let us know that you like it and love it and want more of it. Make sure you also follow us on all social media platforms. We are Dishin Days Show on the Facebook. We are Dishin Days on Instagram and _Dishin Days on the Twitter. The @ is currently feeling very hot as it's a sunny, bright day here in LA. Also, for your soap opera fix, make sure you subscribe to JLJ Media for your Bold and the Beautiful, General Hospital, and Young and the Restless fix on all the things that have been happening on those shows. Our favorite co-host, James Lott Jr., is giving you his take on that. So head over to JLJ Media for the rest of your soap opera fix, because honey, over here, we just giving you days. And of course, later on, we have Mike Manning, Charlie Dale joining us once again to give more insight and more take on his time on the show. All right, guys, what did we think about this week's episodes of Days?
It was good. The pacing was a little off. I felt like it didn't pick up until, when did we get Sammy back? Was that Friday or
Thursday? I think.
It was like, yeah. Like,
It was Thursday. Yeah. I just remember thinking, I was like, oh, where is this storyline?
Yeah, it kind of disappeared and then came back. Yeah.
What was fun for me to realize was that this week was March, and I kind of forgot about the whole February sweeps aspect because the show's just been one week it's all action, 1 week it's kind of not, 1 week it's all action, 1 week's kind of not, and I've been where was the sweeps? I know that technically we got the sweeps with 2 murders, but it was didn't feel like.
But
oh my God, we're gonna face it,
murder and death.
1 month.
Murder and death on days aren't that big a deal anymore.
Yeah.
It just happens so frequently that it doesn't have those kinds of events like deaths or murder don't have the impact anymore because everyone just dies all the time. So it's oh, he's dead now. Okay.
Right. Well, I thought this week was okay. It felt like somewhat of an info week, but I just kind of felt like it was
it was an entertaining info week. I feel like we had some good stuff in there.
Yeah, it was good. So let's dive right into it. It's now time to start Dishin Days.
I'm trying.
Oops.
Okay. Well, we didn't hear it.
Doing our own sound effects now.
Oh, my bad. Hang on.
Oh.
Or talk amongst yourselves.
Well, let's talk about Days. So,
did you not hear the theme song either?
No, we heard nothing. For some reason,
when that happens.
Well, I don't know.
I'm not hearing the theme music.
I thought you didn't hear it, so I thought you just gave up. Whatever. It's just and so we just kept going.
I did the nice fade out and everything.
Oh, well, there we go. We can hear it now. Live shows and technicalities. All right, so we'll start with the first storyline, which is the Abigail, Gabby, Gwen, Jack, Adrian. Adrian? You mean Bonnie?
Oh,
Anna?
Yep, sure did.
And Chad. I was like, Adrian? What is Adrian doing in here?
My bad.
Adrian. Okay, so...
Or is it?
So right off the bat, I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like this whole thing with Gabby and Abigail is not something that Abigail would typically do.
No, Abigail has been acting very out of character for a while. Like not extremely out of character, like not as out of character as she was when she had the DID, but she's definitely more spunky. She definitely is a little more of a spitfire than she used to be. And like kidnapping wasn't in, well, think about this. When Abigail, we have to remember when Abigail was a teenager, she had her little thing with Austin. So she was a little devious back then.
Yeah. The thing with EJ.
And she diddled EJ when he was with Sammy. So Abigail hasn't always been like a pristine, altruistic person. Sure. So I guess we kind of have to think of that when we're...
I would say, but I would counterpoint that saying she hasn't always acted like a pristine person, but she's always been treated as a pristine person.
Mm-hmm. That's been the expectation of her, you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we keep hearing, this expectation, the way that Gwen describes her is not necessarily who Abigail is, but who everyone expects her to be, and who every time Abigail acts out of character, will use that as an excuse.
Yeah, but I like the whole time I was watching it, I was just like, one, to be honest, it doesn't quite make sense. Two, to pull Gabby into it. Like, I was like, Gabby, I was like, listen, everything is fine for me. I got Gabby chic, I got my kids, I got my freedom. Like, you're the one that's seeking this revenge, not I, because I knew I didn't poison you. And I'm just like, and then the whole thing of like, I'll help you get Jake. I'm like, I don't think that would be enough for me to like risk everything again. Like, you've already been down that road. But what ensued was a little bit of hilarity because you had Gabby going over to Gwen at the Salem Inn and like trying to get her to get back at Abigail. But little did Gwen know that she was going to end up in a laundry basket and in the Demera secret room, which, by the way, isn't quite so secret anymore.
No, it's a
new
wine cellar.
It's a different secret room now. Yeah. Like, is this supposed to be the door's on the other side? It's darker. There's more crap in there. It's not just boxes of champagne.
Yeah, it's just a wine cellar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I just don't. Because I was very intrigued at first. I was like, oh, the teaming up is going to be interesting. But now I'm like,
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree that like when I was watching it, I was like, that was, first of all, there's, would Abigail actually do this? And then second of all, would Gabby agree to it so easily? Right. But I'm here for it in that it was entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the fire and spunk. The only thing I was a little disappointed with, I'm kind of with you on this point. I felt like they're schemers, and I was like, oh, you guys didn't really plan anything. It was like they were like
right
by the seat of their pants, and I was like, come on, how many times have you guys done? Especially Gabby. I was like, you guys don't have an actual like concrete plan for like how you're going to carry this out.
It was so annoying when Gabby said, I usually like to think on my feet. Actually, no, that is so the opposite of Gabby. The reason Gabby is such a good schemer is because she is a master at the long game. I mean, it took them 2 years for them to realize that she sabotaged Julie's pacemaker. She's a master at that long game. And then I was so annoyed with Abigail, like, well, you didn't do this and you didn't do that. I'm like, dude, she's doing you a favor. And she could probably get in a lot of trouble for this. Why are you barking at her?
She kind of put everything on to Gabby.
Yeah.
In all honesty, it was kind of like, this is what I want to do. And like, you go, like, now you figure it out. I would have been like, if I were Gabby, I would have been like, hold up. Like, this ain't my plan. Like, I'm over here trying to get my stuff together. And here you are coming over here with this revenge plan. Ain't nobody got time for this.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Side note, did anyone else notice Jack's hair? I think I was the only one
Mark said something. My husband said something about bangs.
Well, it was like, so when we first saw Jack, the hair was like a little tousled. When he answered the door, it was fine.
Oh,
and then and then when he talked to Abigail, it was a little more, and I was just like,
yeah, I did it.
Like in my mind, it was like, do, 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 do.
He's stressed.
Yes, he is. But okay, so, when it comes to Jack, I want to ask you guys, how do we feel about him and his decision with Gwen and Abigail? Do we think that he's like, it's a good thing that what he's doing with Gwen, or that he kind of should be on the side of Abigail and kind of not deal with Gwen at all?
I really loved Jack this week. I thought, in fact, I was actually more mad at Abigail in their conversations. I felt like she was the one who was like, make a choice. And he was the one I felt was being like 100% completely fair to both. He was like to Abigail, you don't have to forgive her. You don't have to deal with her. In fact, I'd rather you not deal with her and stay away from her because you have these feelings and you're sort of going off the deep end with her. Like, just stay over here and I'll deal with her myself. I'm the one who has to cultivate this relationship. And I thought he was fair to her. And especially like considering his history as like a Devereaux and a Johnson, like Gwen fits in there pretty good. I mean, as much as she's as much bad as she's done, like she's a chip off the old family block here. And it's like, I think Jack recognizes that. And it's like, I'm not willing to like open my arms and give her a room in the Horton house, but it's like they're pretty good. I mean, I need to establish a relationship with her. She's my daughter, and let's take this slow. So I really love Jack this week.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with all of that. I was mostly like I could see where Jack was coming from. Like he's trying to like there's this line, you know, 2 daughters. One that he has an immense guilt over for not knowing she existed. And I think he's trying to make up for that. Meanwhile, still trying to be fair to Abigail. And it's like, he's in a tough spot. So I kind of felt for him.
Yeah. The interesting thing about when a child grows up and you develop this relationship with your parents where, you know, you're not a child anymore, so they can't tell you what to do, and they become, you know, close to you and they become kind of like your parent, but also your friend kind of a thing, is that there's a different line that needs to be drawn. And the line that needs to be drawn here is that you're still your parents' child. You have no right to tell them what they can do with another child. You have the same way you have no right to tell them how to behave in their marriage. You can have an opinion about it, and you can feel some kind of way about that other child, but you as their child, as the child that they raise, have no say in their relationship with another child, especially if they're doing everything that they can to keep the peace, to keep the order. He is in no way, as Justin said, he is in no way saying that he is encouraging contact or reconciliation or forgiveness or anything. He's saying, you stay over here, you stay over here, but please don't tell me what I am supposed to do.
Right.
That's a parent for you.
Yeah. But I
do as I say and not as I do.
And I also just think that, like, you know, he walked us through the steps of his reasoning as to how he ended up with how he did. He was like, you know, I understand that Gwen had a rough childhood, and I did a background check on Gwen and her mom. Everything checks out. I've been a news reporter for decades, and, you know, my job has always been to, like, examine if people are lying, and then the way they move and the way their body shifts and everything like that. When it comes to how Laura died, he was like, I know that you're telling the truth. So I'm also going to assume that as viewers, we are now to accept that Laura's death was an accident and not a murder. So he went through all of this deductive reasoning. And I think with that, he also understands that, you know, there's all this stuff that she has done, but he has to step up and be a father to this daughter that he didn't know, that has had a very rough childhood and did all of this because of misinformation that she was given by her mother. So out of respect for both and what he's trying to do as a father, he's like, listen, Abigail, you stay away from her. She's going to stay away from you, but I'm going to equally be here for both of you. And I don't know what's going on with Abigail, but she's just not having it. She's just like, it's either me or her, it's our family or her, like, and that's the bottom line. And I'm also still just looking at her like, who is this girl? Like, this is not the Abigail that I feel like I feel like she's a little more reasonable than this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Is it the Laura thing that's pushing it over the edge, maybe?
But she started acting like that before Laura. She started acting a little more, I don't know what the word is, but before Laura even like came back and was a part of things.
And I think if the Laura thing didn't happen, I think she wouldn't. I don't know if she'd be on this revenge tip. I feel like she'd probably still keep her distance from Gwen, but I think that like kidnapping her and getting her to confess, I think a lot of that is the Laura stuff. Maybe, I don't know.
I think it just made it worse.
I think ultimately Abigail wants Gwen to pay, and she's not buying this act that she thinks Gwen is giving, and so I think that's why this whole thing is happening. Meanwhile, in Chadland, Chad is just trying to figure out his marriage and trying to move on, and Abigail's mind is not on reconciling this marriage right now.
Let me ask you guys, in the Chad and Jack scenes, I thought Chad was being so hypocritical and kind of out of line. What did you guys think of that sort of their argument, talk, whatever?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I just kind of saw where he was coming from. Like, you know, don't mess up your relationship with Abigail. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, it's hard because everybody in Salem has done something to somebody, and certain people are forgiven and certain people are not. And, you know, like, I mean, look at how Steve treated Bonnie. Like, no matter how she tries to show them that she's like a different woman, there's still hatred, you know, towards her, that people can't seem to like let go. But then, you know, Abigail can falsely, you know, send someone to prison who got beat up and can no longer have kids. And it's like, oh, it's fine. It's okay. We understand.
Yeah, I thought Chad, of all people, being a DeMiro, would have maybe sympathized with Jack a little bit more about having a destructive family member. I was like, Chad.
He still considers himself the good DeMiro.
Yeah.
In so many ways. He has every right to defend his wife.
Yeah, no.
But he doesn't get to use that as an excuse for his behaviors.
Yeah.
Like, even in that conversation with Jack, it's like, Gwen did this and Gwen did that. And he said something along the lines of, she made me wreck my marriage. And I'm like, no, you did that.
You made your choices.
You did that. Take responsibility. He is still blaming Gwen. And yeah, Gwen had a part in it. But even Gwen was like, that was easy. That was too easy.
That was the easiest part of it,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess at this point, we'll just have to see how all of this unfolds and like what's going to happen with that whole storyline. I don't know. Something made me go, there's something here that's going to happen and I can't quite put my finger on it.
Oh, okay. Like another breakdown or something.
There's something, because I just don't feel like Abigail is acting like herself. Like this is not normal Abigail. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's something that's a little off.
Maybe, yeah.
So, yeah. But also, can y'all lie better? Because with the whole laundry basket thing, I would have been like, I just would have been like,
every lie they told, she called them out and was like, but don't you guys do that? Or don't you guys do that? And I feel like after like going back and forth 5 times, they were just like, okay, gotta go bye, and left. And the funniest part was, like, oh, those girls can talk.
Yeah. Right. And it's like, but you can talk too. So that was a lot. All right, so moving on to the next storyline with Kristen, Susan, Brady, Chloe, Philip, and Lani.
Fate's sake.
Okay, let's do a rating, shall we? On a scale of 1 to 10, how is Kristen doing portraying Susan?
What's the scale?
1 being horrible, 10 being stellar.
5.5.
0.05, yeah.
0.05. Araceli?
2.
Dang.
The attitude is just shining through.
I'm gonna give it a 5
for the look.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, look, because she has moments. She looks like Susan. She kind of acts like Susan or whatever. So like a lot of things are like kind of. Ooh, other people are like 10, 0, 0, 7, 9, 10. Because here's the thing. I think when it comes to Brady and her like protectiveness over Brady, it becomes a little weird.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean when I say not the portrayal, but her actions. I guess that's what.
And I feel like she could have covered that up as like, well, Kristen told me to look after Brady, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And that would have covered everything.
I'm still with this. I don't understand what her plan is, how she's going about. Like I said this last week, I would have made more sense for her as Susan to befriend Chloe or try and work that angle. Or I actually liked the angle when Philip came in. I felt like either work that as Susan, or you know what, take off your wig and be like, I'm Kristen, I want Brady, you want Chloe, let's team up or something. Like I was expecting that, or I felt like that would have even been a better option. But
I will say, I LOL'd, I cracked it every time that she called him Phil.
That was cute.
Okay, I was like, okay, in that respect, that was a very Susan thing.
Yeah, that was a Susan
to do.
Thing,
and I just cracked. Phil. I was like, that's funny. I don't know why. It cracked me up.
And the fact that he didn't like stop her or correct her or get annoyed, he was just like, "This is Susan."
Yeah,
exactly. He was just like, "Yeah, Susan."
This is the one week. This is the one week I actually wasn't annoyed with Philip. I thought he was spot on.
Me too. I felt that same way.
I mean, he was spot on in almost everything he said this week, and even in talking with Susan / Kristen and his communication with Kay, he called her out. I was like, man, Philip. Yes, I like this Philip. When Philip
is on that scowl on his face the whole time.
Yeah, he's saying
he was actually a little more animated.
He's saying truth. He's saying what he wants, and he really pulled the curtain back on. No, Chloe does want Brady again. Yeah, like there's no mistaking that now.
I think it started to become a little more obvious that Chloe does have feelings for Brady, especially in that phone call with Philip, where it was like basically she has to be on call for Brady, like just in case. And then when it was like, well, Susan said he's probably going to be asleep for the rest of the night. Oh, well, yeah, I'm just going to go home and go to bed. I'm like,
I was like, okay. That's not even like a soft letdown. It's just like a no.
It's like if that doesn't say that you are more so about Brady than anything, then like. Yeah, I don't know what does. Like,
you think Philip gets it though? Philip kind of, he seems to be taking the hint.
Yeah, but Kristen Susan is not wanting him to take the hint, and I think now being there and seeing it firsthand, I think that like she's even more insecure about their relationship, but also I feel like what I keep wanting her to do is just to Brady say, it's me, Kristen, and if she puts her hands on you one more time, we about to have it out. Like
she almost did. She almost like there was that point before Philip came over.
Well, she almost took it off for Rachel.
Oh, that's right.
For not Rachel, Brady. Not for Brady.
I mean, do you think Brady would?
Brady
do you think he would? Do you think he would be okay with it, or do you think he'd be like, no, you're gonna go back to jail?
I feel like she thinks the latter. Like he would be like, you gotta go back to jail. Go back to jail,
Kristen. Well, here's the part where I think that Kristen should also be pissed that
I did that just for you.
She's been out of jail for a week or so, and Brady obviously can't go anywhere right now because he's recuperating. But we haven't gotten a phone call to Kristen. That's an obvious red flag.
Right. Or it actually may only be like a day, honestly.
But still, even so, Kristen would expect a phone call a day or every other day. She would be pissed.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it's literally been like this is the second outfit we've seen Kristen Susan in. So I think in our time it's been a week, and their time has only been like a day. Okay, so on the flip side, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being horrible, 10 being stellar, how is Susan doing portraying Kristen?
I'm giving it a 10 for the scenes of it, not the like. She's stumbling, but I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Versus the other way around. I'm loving what
Stacey is doing. I don't think that Susan's doing any better of a job than Kristen.
I would say 7, only because it was Lani visiting her.
I'm gonna stick with
Lani, and it comes across as genuine.
I'm gonna stick to a 5 because there was a moment where I just felt like Susan was just like, she didn't care who she had. She was just like, and this Jello in here is just not good. And I just
gelatin.
And then I think there are times where she remembers, oh yeah, that's right, I'm that mean Christian. Okay,
Can you go to the pub and get me a bowl of chowder?
I'm loving the variation with her voice that Stacey's doing, where she's mixing it with Susan and Chris. I'm like, she's doing a phenomenal job.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Both hands, but I'm liking the Susan in prison pretending to be Kristen side of it a lot more.
Yeah, there's a moment though where I felt like Lani made up one of those stories.
You know what, Tony? I thought she was doing that to trap her. I thought that's where they were going, where she was going to be like, Susan, is that you? Or like the end of it was
that
way. When we went to the piazza, I love pizza. No, not pizza, the piazza.
Right, because they were like, I feel like they haven't been around each other where they did that, where they reminisce. So I felt like when they were talking about the gelato, then all of a sudden Lani was just kind of like, oh, and what? Remember this? And oh, remember this? And then I felt like she was like, remember this? And she was like, oh yeah. I remember that. I remember that. That was, and I felt like Lonnie's just like, I can't quite put my finger on it, but something ain't right. But I'm just gonna like still play it cool until like I figure out all the pieces. I was waiting
for her to trip her up on that moment.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
maybe
wonder if the suspicion is growing though. Maybe not this time, but maybe next time we.
Or do you think she did and like is keeping it to herself for whatever reason? Or they would write it that way?
Maybe, yeah.
I think she is. I think she's collecting evidence right now. Like I don't think she's like fully like
There's fully put the pieces together.
Yeah. I think she has, opened up her computer in her mind, click file, click new folder, and she's like, putting new stuff in there.
She's dragging and dropping. She just doesn't have a full drive yet.
Right, exactly.
A full folder, whatever.
And I mean, I feel like that is pretty much it with that storyline. Speaking of Lani, we're going to go to Lani, Eli, Abe, and Aunt Paulina. Ooh. Before we thoroughly discuss, go around. First impressions of Aunt Paulina.
Love her.
Yeah.
She's fabulous.
We didn't get enough. It was too,
yeah. Where she got me was when she was like, I'm rich, right? And I was like, she got money, y'all.
I love that they established that where someone, very rarely does anyone say that. It's like they sort of lead you into it. And like that she was just like, listen, this is my character. I'm ballsy, I'm brass, and I have money. Like, proceed. Let's go from there. Yeah.
What I already like is that she's that rich aunt that's like not the bougie rich aunt. Like she probably still remembers where she came from, but she got money.
Now she just has enough money to buy fried chicken for the whole town.
For everybody, yes. Not just the $20.99 bucket from KFC, but like she like owns like the chicken farm or something. Here's the thing though. I'm just saying. Here's the thing though. For as much, are you okay, Justin?
Yes.
For as much hype as they and promotion and advertisement that they put, like, telling everyone that Jackée Harry is coming to Days, to put her on for one day this week, I was like, y'all did all that just and the other, like, how I knew this was a big deal was when I was watching Wendy Williams and Jackée was a hot topic, and they showed the 17-second clip of when Lani was like, there was knock, knock, knock. Oh, who could that be? Oh, I'll get it. And then surprise! And it was like, y'all really shopped around that 17-second clip. Like it was on Entertainment Weekly. It was everywhere. And I was just like, okay, like I like this because it should be a big deal. It's Jackée Harry. If you're a fan of hers, like come see her on the show. But then we got the last 17 seconds of Monday, and then we got a few times on Tuesday, and then we didn't see her for the rest of the week. And I'm just like, she was on Access Hollywood too.
And I just don't know if it's like a taping schedule thing, or if these are, when they're writing the episodes, if they're like, who's available today, blah, blah, blah. We had a gap. So we had a gap after Paulina's introduction, 3 episodes, nothing. The same thing happened with the Charlie murder storyline. That happened, and then it was 3 episodes of nothing. So I'm wondering if what's going on behind the scenes to make these kind of give these gaps when there shouldn't be. Like the momentum needs to build, and after all of that promotion, to have her on just for 1 episode in like 3 acts. I mean, it was good. We enjoyed it, but we want more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they could have retooled it so that Jackée was on either Thursday or Friday. I'm assuming we're going to get more for next week, but it was a big gap to have her on Monday and kind of Tuesday, and then we didn't see her. And we're like, okay, like, I want to know more. Like, bring me back to this character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's and I think they laid down like some footwork, some foundation of just like how she is, and that Lani hasn't seen her in quite some time, and there isn't any bad blood, and I like how she kind of like rustled with Abe a little bit, but then it was kind of like, oh boo, I'm just kidding, and then of course like
my sister.
Yeah, and then like looking at Eli like, oh, I'm a hugger, and like,
she gave him a long hug.
That was an embrace. So I like that they brought a character that's a little more light, because I feel like I missed that. Like Matthew Ashford as Jack used to kind of be that lightness, but so was Steve Blackwood as Bart. He kind of added that little like comedic lightness to the show that sometimes was just nice to have, because it's it's supposed to be a drama, but it's nice to have that kind of fluff. So
fun. We just need fun again.
Yeah,
we love the drama, we love the zhuzh, but we need like more zhuzh, more fun. I'm like, it's like
really what the sweet spot is, and it's like I equate this, like if you've ever seen the movie Ghost. It was a drama, but they mixed the drama and the comedy so well in that movie, and I think that's the challenge with soaps and TV dramas in general, like just to give that nice blend.
Yeah,
because even like way back in the day when the whole Kristen Susan wedding thing, like it was all dramatic and intense, but it was also fucking hilarious because you had teeth flying out and Susan and it just made for an overall entertaining, full range of emotion experience.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine like having to write something like that, but
and I mean that's pretty much it that happened with that storyline. So more Paulina, please. Surprise. And someone mentioned, I think it was Patrick TV mentioned, and I think we mentioned it last week too, that what Jackée wore this week was also similar to what she wore on the pilot episode of 227, and she posted that on her social media. So yeah. Oh, and someone mentioned Calliope was another fun.
Oh, Calliope, yeah,
was another fun character. So yeah, so I think she's gonna add some fun to it, which I think will be good. Before we get into tidbits, just a quick reminder, you all, if you are watching us here on the YouTubes, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and also give us a thumbs up. There are a lot of people tuning in and a lot of people watching, and how you can show your support is by simply subscribing, sharing, or clicking the thumbs up button. And if you really, really like us, you'll also leave comments, good comments as well. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms, and make sure you check us out on your favorite podcast platform. We are putting our shows on there now, so make sure you support us that way as well. And we appreciate you tuning in every Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a full dish of this week's episodes of Days of Our Lives. All right, so moving on to tidbits, we have the Ben, Sierra, Evan, Kristen, Clyde, Orpheus, Marlena storyline.
Thank God for Clyde.
Right? Suddenly he's the hero. I
never thought I would say that. Yeah. He is the hero of this story. He really is.
Yeah.
When he can't get what he wants, he just goes and shanks a bitch and gets what he wants.
Shank him.
I was like, if I'm ever in prison, just a sidebar, I want to be in that prison because there's apparently, you can do whatever the hell you want in there and minimum security prison.
Clyde just gave a shank. And actually, when he did that and Orpheus fell, I was like, is this how they gonna kill Orpheus? But then later, they were just like, he's in the infirmary. He's fine.
He'll be fine.
Like, but you shanked him.
He was like, he's in the infirmary. He'll be fine.
Yeah. Part of me was thinking, especially when he had his convo with Ben and he was like, go get Sierra, here's the phone and everything. I was kind of like, are we getting like, not a redemption, but are we getting like Clyde back into the fold? Like, are there going to be repercussions? Like, is he going to get like a reduced sentence? Is he going to get out for helping? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is this
well, the thing is, it's like he may get a, like, okay, is he going to get a reduced sentence for helping them find this kidnapped girl after shanking a fellow prisoner?
Yeah,
I don't think this is any kind of Clyde redemption or leading to Clyde being back in the fold. I just think they're using the character to move the story.
I think Clyde has been on this redemption of redeeming himself as a father.
To Ben, yeah.
Yes,
Ben, yeah.
And I think that therein lies the difference. I think he actually has genuinely put in the work and has tried to atone for the horrible childhood that he gave Ben. And he hasn't always succeeded, obviously. Covering up Ben's serial killer spree was not the best idea. But he has really, when villains have children, it gets really messy, like, because you still want to be your villainous self and put yourself first, and not realizing that your kids are not only learning from you, they're gonna take what you learned and turn it against you, like Evan Kristen just did.
Like Evan Kristen did, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Clyde actually did the work, and now we're like, oh my God, thank God for him, because he's actually doing something good. He's not changing. He hasn't really changed his villainous ways, except when it comes to his kid.
Right. True. Are we for Evan Kristen wanting revenge on Sierra? Like, how does that
it makes sense. It makes sense to me. I buy it.
It makes sense. I just want to know what Kiko's he went to in Salem to get that fake newspaper.
No.
and I want to know why they wrote the article.
I want to know why they don't show him in t-shirts more often. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, listen. I wasn't mad.
Yeah.
I told. Well, Michael Mattis messaged me earlier, and I said, "Listen, if I were Sierra, I'd be okay in the cage. I'd be like, hey, Evan Kristen, how you doing? Thank you for putting thank you for putting raisins in my gruel today. I appreciate it.
Gosh.
I appreciate the raisins. But I do like that he's not trying to follow Orpheus's plan. I like that he's trying to do his own. I did see on Twitter and everything that some people had issues with them being linked to their dreams. And I feel like they've done this with all super couples, that there's just this ESPN that they have that connects them.
ESP.
That sports ball? No. No. I mean, you're right, Tony. You're absolutely right. These big couples always have some sort of connection
where they could be underwater and they're no, he's still alive, he's underwater.
John and Marlena always know when each other are in trouble. Yeah. Bo and Hope always knew. Always knew when his fancy face was in trouble.
Not fancy face.
Fancy face. That was my because I didn't like the character of Beau. But anyway, but yeah, so I buy it. It's something that you kind of have to, you know, suspend your disbelief and whatever about, but it's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Like I'm fine with it too. I think we're all at a point where we're just like, all right, I'm ready for Ben to save Sierra.
Find the bitch. Come on.
Yeah. And then I want to know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Evan in this storyline, but I'm not that interested in his revenge. It's like, I need something else now. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, I just wish what they would have done was just started with that and not with Rhodes and Vincent.
Yeah.
Like I wish
that was still a peculiar shift.
Yeah. Like Rhodes died, they killed Vincent, and it's like now Evan Kristen is taking over. And I'm like, well, we could have just started with Evan Kristen.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because Sierra would not have been safe because he's a loose cannon.
Oh, like
she would not have stayed safe. Yeah, she would not have stayed safe for as long as she has.
Oh, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, because the minute that Evan Kristen took over, I was scared because he's a loose cannon and he's got his sights solely on her. And
is she still alive?
But for now, but he's not.
Okay.
He is not patient. He has very little patience, and he chooses he doesn't choose when he snaps. In other words,
the man put raisins in her gruel. Because
that's him pretending to be a good guy.
No,
that's
you have to
wanting to be a good guy, but behind the curtain, it's like, no, I want what I want. I want it right now.
You have to remember if he's truly wanted revenge and truly wanted to see her dead, I think she would have been like cut to dead now, right? But there is a piece of him that got better, which is why he was able to get out of Bayview and everything like that. Like he saw the error of his ways. Hallelujah, praise Jesus. But I think there's a little bit more good than you give him credit for that's there. But even if that shift happened where it wasn't Rose and it was Evan Kristen, I still think this whole Sierra storyline would still play out as it is right now.
But I think we're saying that because with Rhodes, she was with Rhodes for months. I don't know if she would have lasted for months with Evan Kristen. So I think that's the lower up there.
I mean, they could have wrote him like that, and he would have been fine.
Exactly.
She would have been fine. She would have been fine. She wouldn't have died. She would have been fine. So there's that. Ben, hurry up and find Sierra. All right. So we'll keep seeing how it plays out. I mean, I hope that Evan Kristen doesn't end up back in jail. I fell for him when he was like, I could have just been with Sonny and had my kid and everything would have been fine. And I'm like, yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. But then they made him cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And I was just like, well, great. Well, there goes that, storyline. So yeah, anyway, moving on to the next tidbit, which is Sammy, Belle, Rafe, Allie, John, and Roman. Okay, really quick. Where's my card? Are there any changes to who you?
I completely forgot what I had said last week, so I don't remember.
So welcome back to Who Had Done Shot Charlie?
Who had done did
it?
Who had done Shot Charlie? Who had done did it? So I will remind you that Justin said it was Angelo. Araceli said Allie. Michael said Allie, Belle, and Sammy. And I said someone else. Okay.
I don't think Belle had anything to do with it.
And I said someone not on that list. However, this week, little Miss Allie, I'm a little suspect of you now, especially when she was just like, I mean, can we just forget about it? He deserved it. And I was like, put that on the list there. Is everyone sticking to their thing after this week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, now that we got that out of the way. I was still wondering why Sammy wouldn't say whether she shot him or not.
Yeah.
I also feel like Allison Sweeney doesn't know whether Sammy shot him or not, so it's just kind of written. Okay. I do like that Belle was hesitant because there's still that little from the whole Jan situation. And I think Rafe is just kind of like, girl, you done been through this numerous times. Like, just like why are we going through these links? Like, did you do it or not?
See, I think Sammy thinks she knows who did it and she's covering for that person. I think she either thinks it's John, Allie, or I'm gonna say Lucas. Because I'm trying to think of who Sammy would cover for. And I think she would probably cover for Lucas and Allie. And I think because of the stuff that happened with John and his aneurysm, she would cover for him. So I think either Sammy thinks or she saw John in his car.
So you no longer think it's Angelo?
No, it is. I think it is Angelo. But I think we know Sammy didn't do it, I think. We know that because of the timing. But I think that the reason why Sammy is being cagey is because she's covering for someone. That's what I'm saying.
You're covering for, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm thinking to myself, who would Sammy cover for? And those are the people that I think Sammy thinks did it. And that's why she's covering for those people.
And John explained, like, you know, how he was very upset and that he like got in the car, he was on his way there and then he blacked out. He explained all that to Roman, who is going around being the town crier saying, hear ye, Charlie Dale is dead. So yeah, I don't know. It's a lot to this. It's a lot to the Who Had Done Shot Charlie segment there. So I'm glad I wrote that down. I wouldn't remember that. See, I have it right here. Who Had Done Shot Charlie? That's right there. And that's pretty much just all that happened with the storyline, right? Belle is now representing Sammy. Rafe said that the report came back that Sammy's fingerprints were all over the gun. And then John told Roman about his anger and went to Charlie, but then blacked out. So still a lot there. We already kind of talked about Bonnie, Steve, Justin, and Kayla. I just wish that people would see the good in Bonnie. I'm glad that Justin, Steve, and Kayla had that talk, and they kind of came to an understanding, and that they are going to, do a double date or whatever, which I think is time. At first, I thought the weirdness was because of Justin and Kayla, but then I was like, it's Bonnie.
I kind of forgot, all about Justin and Kayla. I also didn't think Steve was out of line. He didn't want to have dinner with her. He wasn't chasing her with the torch out of town. Yeah. He just said, I'm on a date with my wife. I don't want to sit with Bonnie. Like, I didn't think it. I understand his underlying feelings, and I'm glad they had the discussion, but I think what brought that all up, it seemed heavy on, like, Steve, what are you doing? And it was like, okay.
Yeah, he wasn't out of line.
Yeah.
He was at the line though, because it was like, hey, like, why don't you join us? And it was like, oh, but we haven't even eaten yet. It's like, okay, you can just sit here and like, you can catch up. It's like, no, like, we're okay. And then when Steve said, let me just put it to you plainly, thanks, but no thanks. That's when Bonnie was like, okay, well, I done did it again. Thank you very much. I'm not hungry anymore. Peace out. I can see that I'm not welcome here. But I think if he has just said, you know what, how about we do this another time? You know, Kayla and I just kind of want some alone time, but hey, it was great to see you guys. I think it would have been taken a different way.
It's great to see her.
Okay, children. I'm going to, for all the little kids out there who think that they're adults, I'm going to say these 3 words to you that apparently y'all haven't heard since preschool. No, thank you. That's all you got to say. No, thank you. That's it. You don't have to go on a spiel. You don't have to attack somebody when they're eating their meal. No, thank you. If you got something nice to say, don't say it.
Well, again, it was the thanks, but no thanks. He could have inserted thank you, but no thank, thanks, but no thanks. Or whatever you just said, the 3.
No, thank you.
He could have inserted that there, but he didn't. He said thanks, but no thanks, with attitude. Poor Bonnie. All right, and then we have Jake, Kate, Philip, Gabby. I honestly just think Jake and Kate should have not jumped in with getting the lease and all that.
Yeah, kind of stuff. I was kind of found that odd. I'm like, okay, that was just spiteful.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't even like some sort of business opportunity. That was just really just to, you have Gabby's wound and you just are rubbing salt in it now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm the opposite. I thought it was perfectly fine. I thought out of everything that they've done, I thought it was the fact that it was actually a legal business decision. I was like, okay, this is how I want to see this quote unquote war fought, like on the business side. I don't know. I didn't think there was anything. I think Gabby has thrown the gauntlet down and she has made. I don't know. I don't understand the idea of like if they didn't do this, Gabby would be fine, or like Abby has been coming after them. She's been inserting herself in their relationship. Like, I thought it was perfectly fine to do.
But
it was done legally, too.
Yeah, but up until this point, Gabby was like that fly that you're kind of like swatting as you're eating your lunch. That was the amount of actual effect that they had on their relationship. And this was such a move that was so unlike Jake that I didn't appreciate. In fact, I it was more of a Stefan move, and that made me go, huh? It was just like didn't make sense.
Everyone, and I kind of raised an eyebrow to this too. When Jake called Gabby Chica.
I knew that was gonna be. When he said it, I was like, oh, don't say that.
Yeah. Someone correct me. I did too, Tony. And then I was doing some research on something else, and that came up. And then someone mentioned that Jake has actually done that before. So someone was saying they were pulling it more as like he's called her that in the past, not as like a making it sort of a racial issue.
It's saying so. Basically, if Julie had said it, we would have went but But they have a history with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Because at first I was like,
that's what I thought too. I was like, oh, don't go there.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was just I thought you were washing your hands with her kind of a move. And now it's just drawing more tension. And I feel like Philip is confused. Like, what are y'all doing? Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. I think it's just going to keep being this tension. Gabby and Philip versus Jake and Kate, and it's just going to keep being this clash of the Titans or whatever.
Philip was making sense this week.
Yeah, he was. He was very level-headed.
On all fronts, he totally called his mom out. I was like, this could have been a fair fight. This war could have built up, but you just escalated for no reason.
Yeah,
I think
it's not even a move.
It's going back to
what benefits you.
It's going back to what we talked about, like that's unrealistic for Kate is that she's threatened by Gabby she's threatened by Gabby in her relationship with Jake. And I think that's what's driving her to do these things. And it's again, I still don't think, I think that's actually a little bit what's happening, but I don't like that for Kate.
Yeah. Well, we'll keep seeing what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a clash of the Demare Titans, but we'll just see. And then really quick, it's Xander and Sarah are just preparing for their wedding.
Kilt. It's just a little prick.
That was just right. I thought that was a very funny scene to have. Kudos to Paul Telfer for the kilt. You can wear a kilt anytime you want to, Paul Telfer. But I thought that was a cute moment, and then I also like Chloe and Sarah's interaction, and also just kind of but I wanted Sarah to mention to Chloe that he's not like that anymore. I think he was like that before, but I think he's a changed person.
I really love that scene. Surprising. I never think to put those two together. And we probably never saw that outside of when she was pretending to be with Philip and Xander brought Chloe. Whatever, but I really sort of like them as friends. I don't know, maybe we can get some more scenes with them, but I really love that. It was really two mature women being like, this is who he is now, I love him, but also Chloe respectfully being like, this is what he did to me, I don't like him, but go forth kind of a thing.
Yeah. All right, well, listen, I'm looking forward to the wedding. It better happen, and I prefer the kilt without the shirt.
I want more fun. And this couple is so fun that their wedding has so much potential for fun. And a Scottish Greek wedding. Have you been to one of those?
No.
Or just a Scottish wedding or a Greek wedding? They party.
I remember Jesse and Becky's wedding on Full House.
Yes.
and that looked fun.
It looks so much
That's
fun.
my frame of reference.
I know, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun. There's so much dancing, and I'm just like, I want more fun.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get that fun. But the fun is run out for this week's episodes of Dishin Days, and now we're on to more fun, which is our segment, and we're going to start with mine, which is Tony's official 3 Snaps Award. Oh, snap! All right. Now, listen, I feel like this person was definitely a representative of all of us and how we think and how we do in Salem. When Bonnie Lockhart questioned every single thing that was happening, I feel like she basically stepped out of Salem, became us, and was asking the questions that we would have asked. So for that reason, Judy Evans, Bonnie Lockhart, for being the true Nancy Drew of Salem, you get Tony's official 3 Snaps Award. Oh, snap. And now it's time.
Is it off again?
It is.
It's okay.
And now, there we go. And now it's time for Caption That.
That was bizarre. Tony, did you just do that?
Yeah, I said it at the same time.
Ooh, okay. I need to get my rundown up here. Hang on. This week's Caption That photo comes courtesy of Lamone Archie, aka Eli Grant, and his reaction to surprise Aunt Paulina. And this week's caption goes to Tai 9200 or Tyler Najir on Instagram with his caption of when that Halo 2.0 kicks in. Really smash.
Oh, that was a good one.
That is hilarious. Right. And that was Caption That. And now it's time for Those Were the Days.
This week's episode, Those Were the Days, I'm taking you guys back to March 1st, 1999, where Sammy was given the death, it was the sentencing of Sammy. She was given the death penalty for Franco's murder. I decided instead of picking a courtroom scene, I would pick the definitive picture of that storyline, which is Sammy actually almost getting the death penalty right before Lucas walks in. But yeah, I figured since we had this week with Sammy kind of being arrested or being held for Charlie's murder, I thought this was a nice little callback here. So yeah, that was March 1st, 1999, and that was this week's segment of
Those Were the Days. And now it's time for It's a Gift.
Who could I give this week's It's a Gift to other than the fabulous Jackée Harry? Because no one gives hugs like her. And she owns it. And I'm so pandemic weary. I want one of those hugs. I want it.
I love that. And that
I'm still good on the hugs. I'm still like, no, for a while. It's okay.
And that was It's a Gift. And of course, we will retweet Me World 2's Oh Shiz moment of the week. You only have a couple more weeks until he shuts that down. So make sure you stay tuned to that. And now it's time for some news and gossip.
Hey. Starting off,
You got your news and gossip?
Okay, got it. All right. I didn't know if I was waiting for music or what. Okay.
When has there ever been music for news and gossip?
I know. I was getting flashbacks.
Do you remember what show you on?
Yes. We're going to start off with Shelly Henning, our very own Stephanie Johnson. Shelly has been cast in the new Netflix 8-episode limited series called The Woman in the House. This is also the new Kristen Bell show, if you've heard or seen any publications about it. It's the new Kristen Bell show. Shelly will play the role of Lisa. The woman in the house centers around heartbroken Anna, Kristen Bell, for whom every day is the same. She sits with her wine, staring out the window, watching life go by without her. But when a handsome neighbor moves in across the street, Anna starts to see a light at the end of the tunnel. That is until she witnesses a gruesome murder. Or did she? Dum, dum, dum. So yeah, check out Shelly Henning. We'll keep you informed of when that premieres on Netflix in the near future. Moving right along, we have a big happy anniversary to Ariane Zucker, our very own Nicole Brady, who is celebrating 23 years as Nicole Walker Brady.
Nice.
She began in February 1998. Ari has come and gone over the years, but she's consistently been a front-burner, popular character. So big anniversary to Ari.
Yeah.
Moving along, a big happy birthday to our very own Mary Beth Evans, Kayla Johnson. Today, March 7th, is Mary Beth's milestone 60th birthday. So a big happy birthday. Enjoy your day, Mary Beth.
Yeah.
Second to last, we have a big congrats to our friend of the show, Victoria Konefel. She graced the cover of YV magazine for their March-April issues. And as you can see, the pictures are really just gorgeous. Victoria talks about days. She talks about learning to play the guitar during the pandemic and getting involved with social issues. So you can check that out. It's a mostly digital magazine, but you can also request to get it printed if you like. But it's mostly digital. You can find
Tony,
it online.
I think she's wearing Lexi's dress.
Oh, the
yes, Mother of the
Empira dress.
Yes.
So check that out. You can check that out. Victoria Konefel on the cover of YV magazine. Last but not least, Spectrum celebrity events, equipping virtual Q&As, including one with Casey Cott from Riverdale and our very own Vanessa Williams, Valerie Grant, with more to be announced. For every ticket sold, Spectrum donates $10 to True Colors United. And for tickets, visit SpectrumCelebrityEvents.com.
Nice. And I host all of them, so make sure you come and say hello. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to give you a sneak peek as to what is to come on next week's episode of Days of Our Lives.
Maybe we would be good together.
I'm here, my love.
It's my big fat Greek wedding!
I need a best man.
I'll do it. Great! Wow!
Interesting.
Cute.
We're like, okay.
I love that Jack and Xander friendship. It came out of nowhere and I love it.
I do too.
Yeah. I think we touched on that when we talked to Paul, just about like that Xander, Jack, moment and stuff. So I'm glad that we're going to kind of keep seeing that. Patrick TV, if you would like to see the extended promo, you can download the Dual app to see the extended promo, available exclusively on the Dual app. Yeah, so they'll have more stuff there. Trevor Taylor, as we've said before, we cannot show. I don't understand why everyone is obsessed with this extended promo as if we don't know about it. We're not allowed to show the extended promo because the extended promo is exclusive to the Dual app. So if you want to see the extended promo, then you have to go there.
We would really like to not get knocked for copyright infringement.
Exactly. We thought that it was going to be followed by something else. You're just like,
yeah, I agree.
Oh, okay. Well, while we wait for our special guest, Mr. Mike Manning, any additional thoughts on this week's episodes of Days that you weren't able to get out because we were scurrying through to get to the end of our show?
I'll say that one thing that piqued my interest was Xander sort of mentioning his family. I didn't know if that was like a little hint of what's to come or if we're going to get like the other side of Xander's family. It piqued my interest when he was talking about it, and he started first when he had the kilt. I was like, wait, where's there a kilt? And I was confused about that. And then when he explained it, it just piqued my interest of like, is this going to be the new storyline for him moving forward? Are we going to get family members or because his mom is technically still alive, or is she dead?
I think she passed.
I know he has a strained relationship with her, but is she?
I think there was a story of years ago him explaining that I think that she passed away.
Okay, because I remember he told it to Maggie, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, and I think he was raised. Yeah, exactly. I think he could explain it to Maggie. I think he explained to Maggie that he was raised by like this nanny caretaker person who was really, really close to, and she kind of reminded him of Maggie.
Okay, got it. But yeah, it just piqued my interest. I don't know if that's where they're going with it, or I don't know. I just thought sometimes it's a nice way to bring people's family members in or new characters in. Yeah, we never really explored that side of Xander before.
We just need more fun. Let's get everybody vaccinated so we can have a party.
They didn't, what's Vivian doing? There's supposed to be that whole thing that Kristen's supposed to be helping break up Jake and Kate too.
All of these people are making really terrible deals.
So now we got Kristen and Abigail are both going to be doing it now from different sides.
Yeah. Who both are preoccupied with their own stuff. Here he is. Yay. So we now have our special guest for today joining us. Just a few short weeks later, he is back to dish on all the things as for his portrayal of Charlie Dale. And here he is, Mr. Mike Manning.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey. Hi, Mike.
Hey. Hi. Sorry, I had some trouble logging in, but here I am.
It's okay. I think people have now gathered if I give them something to do and I'm looking down, I'm making sure that things are happening. So
any more thoughts that you guys have? I was like, oh, got it. Yeah.
Mike, we didn't realize that we were gonna have you back on so soon to talk about the end of Charlie. Like,
I didn't either. So great.
Well, first of all, I feel like everyone has gravitated towards the character of Charlie, and they actually, like, so many fans have said time and time again that they're going to miss you on the show. For being on the show for the amount of time that you were and seeing the impact that you had, like, how does that make you feel as an actor and as, you know, and what you brought to the show?
Yeah. Honestly, I have to say that I worked really hard to. Anybody can play a villain, I think, and anybody can play the bad guy, and anybody can play the person that enters the room and says, "Haha, I did it." You know, it was me. But with Charlie, because the writers and the producers gave me an opportunity to play such a well-rounded character, I really wanted to do him justice in, really going for it when he does the awful things that he does, and really showing the rage and the temper and the pain and the hurt and showing all the bad stuff. But I also really wanted to make him a human and to show why he did what he did, and really at the end of the day show him genuinely falling in love with Claire, show him genuinely wanting love from his mother, show him genuinely, even that scene with Tripp where there's that split second where Tripp says, "Look, I'll be your brother, like, let's go down to the police station together and let's do this together." And Charlie for a split second thinks about it and is like, "Oh my God, is this the brother I've always wanted?" Like, in those, like, finding those little nuggets where Charlie gets to be human, I think that is what I tried to do, and I feel like that is why the audience reacted the way they did, is because, you know, they saw that underneath the villain there was a person that was just trying to do the best they can with their life circumstances.
Au contraire, Mike, I would not say that anybody can play a villain, because Tom Hanks has said he cannot play a villain. So it takes a special person to play a villain with authenticity and with humanity, the way you just described.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. I thank you for saying that. I mean, I think Tom Hanks, wasn't he the bad guy in Catch Me If You Can? But I guess he wasn't really a bad guy. He was kind of well, thank you for saying that. And I love Tom Hanks, one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
But I feel like it was fun to play Charlie, and it was fun to play those levels. And some of my favorite scenes were when he starts out sort of normal, and then he goes crazy in the same scene, and you see the switch, and playing those levels. I've never had the opportunity to do that before with a character, just to really play somebody that is so deeply in love and deeply wants acceptance, but then also is crazy and will cut you in the same, like in the same scene. And I've never been able to play that. So I was like, look, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to really go for it. And it was fun to play. And I really genuinely had a great time being Charlie. And I feel like that's also maybe what the fans saw is watching the show, is they saw the electricity, because they saw like I was having a blast. I was having such a fun time on set with Isabel and with Paul and with Tamra and with everybody else that I got to act with, and have these really confrontational or funny or heartbreaking or whatever scenes they were. I really got to have so much fun. And I knew going into it that it possibly had like a short run. So I was like, you know what? I don't know how many scenes they're going to give me. I don't know how much time they're going to give me as Charlie, but if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the most of every day. And I really tried to do that. So,
which you definitely did that. I mean, you definitely made the most of playing the character of Charlie, and he has definitely made an impact in Salem. Walk us through because Charlie's final day, he interacted with a lot of people. Like that walk home was memorable in itself. That was a very long.
No, it was called the long walk home, is what it was. Yeah.
But let's start with the scenes with Charlie and Claire, with the whole setup and the phone and everything like that. What were those scenes like for you? Because I'm sure by then you kind of knew that the time was kind of wrapping up. But walk us through like that day and those scenes, and also working with Martha Madison as well on that day.
Well, I mean, Martha is such a pro, and she's so good, and she's so sharp that it makes her, even when I was a part of the wedding scene as Claire's boyfriend, and I got to see her and Brandon Beamer exchange vows and everything else, I was like, oh, she's so good, and she's so sharp. So she's kind of intimidating, which any young guy dating a girl, like he's going to be intimidated by their mom. So that was easy to do. For me, because I was like, I was intimidated. but I feel like I didn't know there were so many good scenes that showed Charlie and Claire falling in love that I didn't know how the writers were going to break that off. And then when I received the script that was that episode, those two episodes together, because it was it was a giant scene, so it was two different episodes. And I was reading it. At the end of it, I was like, oh, good. Like, I'm glad that they did it this way, because Charlie is so in love and so like head over heels for Claire, and if nothing else in the world, he at least had his soulmate, and that's it. And it's the first time that he's fallen in love. It's the first time that he had that in his life, somebody to connect to. And I was like, how can you have Charlie go down the path that he's going down if he still has Claire? And then I was like, oh, it has to be a betrayal. And I'm reading the scenes, and I'm seeing this, and it was so like, it was so beautiful how they did it. It was awful for me to experience and for Charlie, but it was right on point, because you see in the beginning of the scene, as the audience, I feel like we were all reminded just how in love they were, because it's like Claire is obviously playing along, and she was like, oh yeah, tell me the truth and it'll bring us closer together, and I've been where you are, and she's feeding him everything that he wants to hear. And in Charlie's mind, you see all over again, you see like, she gets me. If it's me against the world, as long as I have Claire, like I'm fine. And it's this, and you see on his face like how much he wants to reach out and believe her. And then you're reminded of like how far their romance has come. And then there's that shift where he finds the phone and he realizes that it's been a betrayal this entire time.
Yeah.
And that is just like, that's like the straw that breaks the camel's back. That's like, everybody else has been mean to him. His mother doesn't love him. everybody's out to get him in his mind. Everybody's out to get him and everybody's evil, but at least he has Claire. And then when he realizes, I think in that moment when he realizes that Claire is also out to get him, and that it's really Charlie against the world, I feel like then we finally see Charlie snap. And from that moment on, he doesn't give any you know, like Charlie doesn't care after that point. There's I said this I think before, there's nothing more dangerous than somebody that has nothing to lose. And up until this point, Charlie had something to lose. That something to lose was Claire. And he was doing everything he could to hold on to that. And this is the moment where it shifts, and it's like Charlie no longer has Claire, and now Charlie doesn't care anymore. And it was really sad to play. And at the end of the scene, I remember they yelled cut, and I'm like, I'm crying, and Isabel's crying, and we both give each other a hug, and we kind of knew it was the end of this little journey that we had gone on. And so it was really sad, but I'm really glad that the writers took it that far, because then, as you mentioned, the next episode, I think the next 3 episodes or something, you see Charlie furious that this just happened. And panicked, and he's painted himself into a corner, and he's lied to everybody, and everything's, everything's coming back and against him. And then you see him run into Trip, you see him run into John, you see him, who else does he run into? What? Nicole. Nicole. He runs into everybody, and everybody wants to kill him. But at this time, instead old Charlie, if this hadn't happened, and that's why I love why the writers did this, if he hadn't broken it off with Claire, then if they ran into him, he would try to talk his way out of it. He would try to smooth it over, be like, it's fine, don't worry about it, it's okay, it's a lie, like my mom is crazy, but I'm gonna visit her in the hospital tomorrow. Like, who knows what kind of lies that he would have kept up. But because they broke this relationship off, he had nothing to lose. And so it was really fun for me to unleash Charlie on everybody that he met, especially when I got to talk to John.
That was an intense one.
And walking away being like, oh, you should check your temper, old man. Like this, it's like so many, or like when I was like in Tripp's face, Charlie's in Tripp's face, and he's like, you will never see my son. You will never. At that point, Charlie's desperate, and now the only thing he has is his son. So he went from having everything revolved around Claire to now everything revolved around his son, and his world keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. But at that moment, Charlie doesn't care about anything else. He's going to fight for his son now, because he doesn't have anything else. And to be able to yell at, look Tripp and Steve in the face and just say, I have nothing to lose. I don't care. Try your best, but you won't get me. It was really a fun experience, just to try to finally release genuine crazy Charlie on the world.
Exactly.
Mike, can I ask, now that you've gone through the whole arc of playing Charlie, do you ever think back to specific scenes where you would say, oh, I wish I did that differently, or I wish I had a different angle on that scene or character?
Honestly, I don't think so, because I think as human beings, the point of acting is to create a character and to have that character so connected to yourself that everything that happens to you is truthful and honest and as realistic as possible. And for me, I think that I was getting to know these people on set and getting to know Salem and this world right along with Charlie. And so a lot of those moments, especially early on, where he was like a nervous intern, and when he was trying to not embarrass himself in front of Claire, and when he was trying to make a good impression in front of Xander, his boss, and all these other things, I feel like Charlie and Mike were genuinely going through these experiences for the first time. And I think that there's an honesty to that you can't fake. And so I'm glad that it happened the way it happened, because then by the time I got comfortable with everybody and really got to know Salem and got to know, you know, what Charlie was about, then I was able to like unleash Charlie little by little, and you saw this gradual change in him. And I think that would have been less honest and less grounded if I had tried to plan that out and think my way through those things instead of just feeling those emotions and just being present. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I am very interested and curious about your final scene when like you were going through everything. There's a knock on the door.
Yeah.
You open the door, we hear "don't shoot," and like that's it. But I'm curious, what was your perspective? Because I'm pretty sure when you opened the door, there was probably just a camera. But what was your like thought process? Like, how were you going to play that? Did you come up with as an actor, did you come up with someone that maybe was behind the doors so that you know how to react? Like, what was the thought? In that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And I did talk to the producers about this. I said, who's behind the door? Because I need to know like who I'm seeing in that moment. So I said, who's behind the door, and like what time of night is it? How long have I been here in my apartment pacing back and forth? Like I asked all those questions.
Yeah.
And I think that in my mind, what I decided was Charlie was pacing back and forth, and as much as somebody might hate their mother, he still in the back of his mind wanted a relationship with his mother.
Yeah.
You know, Charlie, till the end of his days, which were shorter than he expected, but until the end of his days, he would have wanted a relationship with his mother, right? He hated her so much, but hate and love are two very close emotions. They're brother and sister, right? And so it's like, I think that he, in my mind, what I chose to do is when he's walking around crazy in his apartment and just thinking about 100 things, he was thinking about how much he hated Claire, how he wanted to apologize to his mother and really try to go back and be a good son, and also how he might try to kidnap Henry. In my mind, I was like thinking all these things, and I was like, what would Charlie be thinking right now? And I'm like, Charlie would want to kidnap Henry and have what's his and be a good dad, and because he does want to be a good dad or a good son or a good brother, he just doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah,
he has no idea how to do it. It was that one episode where I have Tamara tied up. And Charlie's like joking around about never having a Christmas, and then Tamara, he comes from this like mafia like Italian family, and she says that she'll make the 7 fishes. I looked it up, and the 7 fishes, it's like a traditional Italian Christmas dish.
Yeah.
As Charlie's leaving that scene, he like as he does his little thing, he turns a Christmas show on. He's leaving the scene and he opens the door and he turns back and he says, "Why would I want 7 fishes?"
Yeah.
And that like sounds like a joke, but I looked it up and it's like this traditional dish. How sad is it that Charlie has no idea what she's talking about?
Yeah.
That she said, "Oh, look, we'll make the 7 fishes. We'll do this, we'll do that," thinking that it would connect with him. In Charlie's mind, he never had a single Christmas where anybody in his family made him any traditional holiday dish or anything. He never had that moment ever. And so it's like, I genuinely think that he wanted to be a good son. He wanted to be a good brother. He wanted to be a good dad eventually to Henry at some point, but he didn't have any of the tools because he had no role models whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I want to ask this question. I'm nervous too.
Oh no!
Ooh, I know what's coming.
You answer it within the guidelines.
Okay.
So you asked all those questions to the producers.
Oh, I have the same question you do, Tony.
Yes.
I know I do.
Dude, because I feel like I know the answer, but everyone, like, we're curious. The audience is curious. Did they tell you who shot Charlie?
So, the first time, because they're doing all the flashbacks. I shot Charlie's death many times. To the point where I show back up on set and everybody's like, I thought you died. And I was like, yeah, I did. But like, we're back to shoot another one. Like I've shot many versions of his death because they're doing like the whole murder mystery, like who done it.
Yes.
Oh, got it.
And so the very first time I shot that scene, answering the door and like, don't shoot, I thought I knew who it was. Turns out that it's actually somebody different than I thought it was the first time. And now it's somebody like that it's somebody else. So I am not going to say obviously who it is.
No. Because we are playing a fun game called Who Had Done Shot Charlie? And so we are every week as we watch the show and we collect the evidence, we are trying to figure out, we have a list of people. We made a list of possible suspects. It is a long list.
I lost the amount of fingers.
There's so many. By the way,
I kept counting on my fingers and I lost count.
There are so many suspects. You can, if you think about who either threatened Charlie's life or has motivation to kill Charlie,
everybody,
at least 15 people in Salem. So I will say this, that the person, this is the only clue. Now I know who killed me. And I think that the way that they did the murder mystery thing is very smart. And that's all I'll say.
You're good, Mike Manning. You are good.
Thank you.
Well, now what you'll have to do is pay attention to us every week and follow our Who Had Done Shot Charlie segment.
I'm actually curious to see. You should do like when somebody's gonna have a baby and everybody like bets on like the certain day.
Yes.
You guys should have like tallies where you pick like your first, second, and third, and then whoever.
Oh wait, not a bad idea.
Is that what you're doing?
Well, right now, this is where it stands as of today. As of Sunday, March 7th, 4:43 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm split because this week I started pointing the finger at Allie, but I feel like it's someone that is not on the suspect list.
John Del Rey says it was Henry.
I know. It's like it was Henry. Yeah.
It's definitely not Henry.
I've seen a lot of Henrys, a lot of Holly.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
The little baby stroller wheeling itself in and the gun coming up like Roger Rabbit style, just like outside the carriage. Yeah.
Justin thinks it's Angelo, the cousin. Araceli thinks that it is Allie. And Michael thinks Michael had a theory that it was a cover-up with Allie.
My theory is that it's my theory, overarching theory without mentioning characters, is that it was there were multiple people involved in the scene, and that maybe it really ended up not being any of them in some way, but like a self-defense kind of thing.
Okay. All right.
So as of right now, those are
who done it. Who exactly done it. I'm still kind of I'm still leaning towards Sammy and Allie, but
But just know we're on the case. Like we here at Dishin Days, we are. Just call us the extension
Bring
of
justice.
Salem PD.
Justice for Charlie.
Hashtag justice for Charlie. That's what we are doing. Chucky.
I need a different name.
So Mike, we do have some questions from our lovely chat room, and one of the things is that a lot of people want to know, and I'm sure you get this question a lot, is who on the show that you wanted to work with that you didn't get a chance to work with? Because I mean, Charlie did kind of intermingle with a bunch of people. Was there someone that you're like, oh man, I wish I had a scene with them?
Honestly, I really I worked with Ben, I worked with Brandon, I worked, you know, it's funny. I worked with Mary Beth Evans on The Bay.
Yes.
I actually didn't work with her on Days. So
Yeah.
she would have kind of been fun to work with. Marcy would have been fun, and Billy.
Yeah.
Would have been fun to work with.
Gotta see that. Yeah.
Because I would watch their, like, while we're on set, I'm watching the show sometimes, and I just always that like they're so good in their scenes, and they're such good actors that, like, I don't know how the storylines would have connected whatsoever. I mean, I would have had to like bump into them in front of in front of the inn or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Well, you had a few scenes with Emily where that could have worked.
You're right. If things had progressed with Emily, that could have worked. But I just like they're such good actors that I remember watching, thinking like, oh man, because I worked with Deidre. I worked with, because of the Brady connection with Claire, and that, like, the wedding scene and Christmas and everything. I worked with a lot of the actors in a short time. So I mean, it was pretty great to, like, you know, just to be there with everybody. But yeah, I didn't work with Billy, and I didn't work with Mary Beth. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been because you know, soaps are good for nuggets. Like, that would have been a good little, like, you know, moment for you and Mary Beth to interact, since y'all, you know, interact on the Bay.
Yeah.
Hashtag opportunity missed. Phil in our chat room wants to know about the scenes with Gwen. Just like how they were, and did you think there was did you think that something was going to happen between the characters of Charlie and Gwen? Because we had a theory. We thought something could have happened, and then somebody shot you, and then we were like, well, I mean, well, there goes that. So, there's that out the window.
So I had asked the producers going into the scene. I was like, is there something that's going to happen? And he was like, just like do the scene and I'll tell you. And because when you meet somebody, you want that like sexual tension, and you want the whole like you don't know where it's going to go, right?
Yeah.
So I think that they wanted that to be the case, where the audience genuinely didn't know, is this going to be something? Like, are they going to and I think it was one of the producers had mentioned, I was like, how do we approach this scene? Because they're meeting, like, I think I was in like the cafe, and then I see Gwen, and then we have this conversation, and I was like, how should we approach this scene? Like, is this like the beginning of another romance? Like, because Charlie is still head over heels at that point for Claire. Like, he would never look at another woman. He would never do that. That's not who he was. And I was like, how should we play this scene? And he goes, think of it as a hurricane and a tornado crashing together for the first time. And I was like, ooh, I like that. Like, I really like that, because at that point we're both so unstable, and we're both so like, we cause destruction wherever we go, but we don't really mean to. And so we just sort of sat down, and we did the scene, and I think that there was this like underlying electricity, and you know, I think that there was some chemistry there, and there was some tension there and everything else. But it was also, I think deep down, the tiny little part of Charlie's brain that didn't want to admit that he was a bad guy connected with the tiny part of her brain that didn't want to admit that she was a bad person. And they both kind of saw each other for who they were. And they were like, I see you. I know everybody else is believing your lies. I don't believe your lies. I know who you are. You know who I am. But we also understand why we are the way we are. And we're both broken people. And then they sort of separate. And it was, and that was what we tried to convey in the scene of like, we were trying to challenge each other. We were trying, like, working with Emily was so much fun. Because she was like sitting there just like ready to strike, almost like
she was like studying Charlie. She was like, you're reading about me, I'm gonna learn about you. Like, tell me about you.
And that's very intriguing for somebody like Charlie that likes to think that he has it all figured out and he's 5 steps ahead of everybody else, to finally meet somebody that isn't believing his lies and is calling him out on his BS. It's a really fun kind of cat and mouse thing that they had going on, and I would have been interested to see where that went. But
yeah. We would have too. We thought that there was something there, especially to people who had very similar backgrounds, both coming from broken homes and families and people that they felt like didn't want them, and kind of seeking that vengeance on the situation. So when the meeting happened in Horton Town Square, we were all kind of like, wait, do they know each other? Like, why are they talking to each other? Like, who just walks up to a table to someone that they don't know and just start talking to them? Like, there were all these questions. And then by the end of it, we were like, this could be something. We don't know what, but this could be something. So it was intriguing. And if we were in the writer's room, we had a whole storyline that could have happened. But alas, we're here just to talk about what has already been written. Another question that someone had was regarding Allison Sweeney. We saw there was a picture on the internet, I think on Instagram or something, where she first met you and you're like laying there dead as Charlie. But they want to know if you had a chance to like talk to her and like actually have a conversation during those scenes.
Yeah, no, we were able to hang out on set, like in between takes where I was laying on the ground, a bloody body.
Yeah.
And it was, she's such a staple of the show, and she's been around for so long, and like, you're walking down the hallway of the Days building and you see her picture, and like she's such an icon in the show. And so when I found out, number one, that I was going to work with her, I was very excited. And then on set, I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do my job. I'm not gonna fangirl. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna whatever. And so I'm laying there as a dead body, and she goes, "Hey Mike, it's so great to work with you." And I was like, "Me?" She goes, "It's so great to work with you." And I'm like, literally laying there with like holes in my chest, and like I'm like a dead body, and I literally go, "Oh, thanks, you too. Like, so nice to meet you." But then after we got the shot, we got to talk for a little bit, and she's such a wonderful person, such a lovely person, and now she's directing and she's doing her own movies and things, and so and that was really cool. Like I also produce and write and do things aside from acting, so we connected on that, and then I kind of just forgot about it. And then I think because we shot that weeks and weeks ago. And then when she posted, I think last week is when she posted on Instagram the photo of us. I had forgotten that she took that photo because she was like, "Smile." And I was like, and I forgot that she took it. And then she posted that. And I was like, "Oh, this is great. Like now I'm happy that I have this photo."
She's so great about that. We had her on the show like in the midst of quarantine, and she was like, "Wait, I need to get a photo of this," and then she turned around just to her screen and was like, "Smile, you guys."
Really?
That's hilarious. We have a non-related Days of Our Lives question.
Okay.
Dwight wants to know, what were your memories doing The Real World, Washington, D.C.?
Oof, that's a lot to unpack. No.
Right.
Honestly, I will say this. I will say that at the time when I found out about Real World, I never watched the show before. I had no idea what I was getting into. And I think that for me, that was a blessing because it didn't allow me to overthink everything. It didn't allow me to like plan who I was going to be on the show. I just went to DC, and I was a real guy trying to figure some stuff out. And I was really like, everything that happened on the show was genuine, and I really, I'm glad that it was in DC because it filmed in 2009, aired in 2010, and it was right on the cusp of like Obama being elected and hope and young people being involved in politics and everything. And that was part of my storyline, is that I got to like meet members of Congress and talk about like civil rights and everything else that I cared about. And so I'm really happy for the show. And I'm really grateful for the show, and it gave me a platform, and And it was because of that show that I had agents and managers in Los Angeles reach out to me on Facebook and convince me to move to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do owe a lot to that show. Would I ever do it again? Probably not. Because I like my privacy too much, and and I'm just not there anymore. But for what it was, I'm really grateful for the show, and also that like my brother and my sister and my mom and my dad all visited me on the show, and I'll forever have like those episodes and those memories of them being a part of my jumping into making a career out of entertainment, I think.
Yeah.
And also going through some really personal stuff during that time. Like I was going through some really personal stuff, and I will say that being away from my family and my friends and being able to reinvent myself in Washington, D.C., it really helped shape who I am as a person today, and really taught me confidence and being proud of who I am and everything else. And so I will say that I'm for a variety of reasons, I'm really grateful for the show.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Well, I feel like we're all revisiting the Real World now because, on Paramount Plus, they have the Real World Homecoming, where they have the very first season, the New York season.
90s.
92, like almost 30 years later, they all have come back to the original loft, and they're like revisiting each other and the show and those moments and everything like that. And it's very for me, it's very nostalgic because I remember being a kid and watching the Real World. I stopped watching Up at a certain point. I won't tell you when. But it's always fun it's a nostalgic kind of a thing. So
hey kids, there was a world before the 21st century. A lot happened before that.
A friend of mine just, and I don't want to go off too far on this, but a friend of mine posted on Twitter today that because there was a bar that they went to, and I feel like I remember the episode where it was like a downstairs club and it was all dark. And she's like, COVID has totally ruined me because I can't watch this episode where they're all closed in a dark basement. She's like, they're too close. They can't. She's like, it's going to take a while to rewire my brain.
Yeah, no, I really though, like I'll watch movies and it'll be like a rom-com where, the people meet in an elevator at work or whatever, and the elevator doors close, and I'm like, they're not
can't do that.
Like, and it just takes me out of the entire movie. It's like our brains are all wired for COVID and masks and
I had the same reaction watching the Golden Globes last week, and then I realized that the couple that I was like upset about were married.
Yeah, so
they were married. They've been living in the same house. It's like they have no problem holding hands on stage.
Yeah.
And Mike, you have. I mean, now that Days is. I don't want to say over because I feel like in soap opera, and not that I'm hinting at anything anyone. You can never say it's like truly over. I mean, I think, people besides us have probably written a storyline on how you can come back, because I see in the chat room, people are like, he can come back as a twin. He can come back as this. There's another character that he could play. So people have options and they don't mind throwing them out there. But what are you up to now? Because I know that you continue to stay busy. You have a movie that is out now, I believe, called Son of the South. And I know that you're working on a few stuff. So catch people up with like what's happening in the world of Mike Manning, because I know that you stay very busy.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So Son of the South, I'm really proud of that movie. Executive produced by Spike Lee. It's a movie about the sort of the evolution of the civil rights movement in the Deep South in the 60s. And it's the first time that I got to play a true story. It's the first time that I got to play a character that was actually a real character. And it was the first time I played a character that was a movie that was shot in the 60s. And so it was really cool. And I got to work with like Brian Dennehy, who I've been obsessed with since Cocoon.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And like I'm a little kid, my dad, it was one of his favorite movies and we would watch it. But also like Cedric the Entertainer and Lucy Hale and Lucas Till and Jake Abel and Ludi Lin and like so many of these other like amazing actors that I got to work with. the story, it's not this big giant Hollywood story with explosions and this and that. It's just a real story about somebody that saw something that was happening in their community and decided to get involved and in a real way tried to make a difference for the better. And for that, I'm really, really proud of the movie. Barry Alexander Brown directed. He just did such a fantastic job because he knew the author of the book. He also had lived in Alabama where this had happened, so he had a connection to the story. And he's known Spike Lee for decades and has worked with him. And so it was just like this nice little, like, the stars aligned and we made a great movie, and I'm really proud of it. And they're pushing for the Oscar race right now, which
nice.
So that would be cool.
Yeah.
And then let's see what else. I have a film called Slapface coming out.
Slapface?
Slap face.
What did the 5 fingers say to the face?
Yeah, so it's called Slapface, and I produced this one, and I also play like the older brother of our lead, who's August Maturo. People might recognize him from Girl Meets World.
Yeah.
Also in the movie The Nun. So that's a fun movie. It also has Libe Barrere and Dan Hedaya. He was the dad in Clueless, and also like in Usual Suspects, and he's done a ton of stuff. And that's a fun movie. That one was kind of like my baby. Like, I found the script and I produced it, and I made it happen. That'll probably come out later this year in the fall sometime. So be on the lookout for that. And then there are also some movies that I might be shooting this summer that are really, really cool, and I'm really excited. It's kind of, one of them is like really good, which makes my mom happy because she thinks that I play nothing but villains. So it's like a really good role. So I'm like, Mom, this one's for you. And then the other one is playing like a crazy person. So
okay.
So playing Charlie has gotten you ready for both of these roles.
Listen, I think they offered this to me because they saw Charlie. I think, honestly.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
I think so. So if Charlie is the beginning of me being a crazy person for a while, then so be it, I guess.
It's funny. I was going to ask earlier we had talked the last time you were here about how you had to prepare your mom for what was about to come. Was she prepared?
Well, no, honestly, like, my mom has this theory. Well, it's not really a theory, but she wonders why I play a bad guy. Like in Teen Wolf, I was a cop that came in and tried to take over and like was a bad guy. Even in that Disney movie I did, Cloud 9, it's like this Disney snowboarding movie, whatever. I was the bad guy. I like tried to like sabotage the other team, and like and like on Major Crimes, I like took somebody hostage, and so when I found out about Days, she was so happy because I told her about Charlie in the beginning, and she was like, "Oh, you look so good in glasses. You're so sweet. You're this intern. You look so good. Like, keep it up." And then a month into it, I was like, "Mom, you should stop watching. Watch anymore because it's gonna crush everything that you think about Charlie." And it did. So.
Well, but at least your work, you played him very well, because you can tell your mom that even though he wasn't like he was a bad character, everyone still wants him back. So I think that's a plus.
Yeah, no, I will say, like, for anybody watching right now that has been a part of this, thank you. Like, the response to everybody was very angry when they found out that Charlie was being killed off. And it was almost like, I said this, I think I said this to somebody else recently. It's like, when you're like a 7-year-old and you're getting picked on in school and the bully's being mean to you, but then all of a sudden like a bigger kid comes up behind you and then you're like, yeah, don't be mean to me. Like, that's how I felt. Like, the fans came and they were like, what? They were like, don't kill Charlie off, or like find a way to bring him back, or do this or do that. And I went on Twitter and I was like reading all these comments, and I was like, oh, they really like Charlie. Like, they really, I mean, okay, they don't like Charlie, They don't like what he did.
No.
But they wouldn't. I was like, oh, they're fighting for me.
Yes.
Because they liked the work that I did. And it really actually like it meant a lot to me because, you know, you always, it's the same thing as like an artist. Like if you put your heart and soul into making this painting and people actually appreciate it, it really means something to you. And so it really means something to me that people actually like what I did with Charlie.
Yeah. With that, because we also know we talked to you about this last time, like it's kind of been a journey for you to actually get on Days. Like it's been a while of many times like going in for a role and not maybe being right for that particular role until they finally found something. Overall, your experience on the show and like what do you take away from it and what did you learn about yourself, you know, playing this particular role and being on Days?
Yeah, I think that I learned that I am capable of memorizing lines. I learned that my brain is capable of holding a lot of things in it that I didn't necessarily think it could before. I think, honestly, I gained an appreciation for Salem. I gained an appreciation for the process. I gained an appreciation for the level of trust that you have with the writers and the producers and the other actors, that you learn your material and you show up on set and you just, it's like that trust exercise where you fall and will catch you. That's what it is every single day, because the pace is so quick that you have to trust everybody and you just have to go there and give it your all. And that was a big like lesson for me. Just to go there and trust everybody and just trust that it's all going to work out. And if you do the work and you work really hard. So that's what I'll take from Days. I think it's just, you know, that appreciation, and also the appreciation for everybody that, like, for the casting directors and the producers and everybody that was responsible for giving me that chance to be Charlie.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm sure I've said this to you before, and I'll say it to you again. I thought that you did an amazing job as Charlie. I think I can speak for all of us. We definitely appreciate the journey that you took us on with this character, the highs and the lows. I feel like there were moments where we were just like, oh, Charlie. And then it was like, oh no, but who shot him? So thank you for taking us through all of that. And I mean, you're just a great person and an amazing talent. And I'm pretty sure if it's not on Days, which I'm pretty sure there's someone put a petition out there or something, like fans are very loyal in that way. But if it's not on Days, we're glad to see that, like, you're continuing to work and continuing to thrive as a performer. And we, of course, are going to give you our full support. And with you being on Days, soap fans are very loyal, so you're kind of stuck with them.
Well, I will sit at the soap fans lunch table anytime, because they've been
well,
really
we can have lunch together again.
Now we can. We're coming out of this god awful pandemic, so
yes,
we can do it.
Listen, and trust me, the soap fans will be there in full force. They will buy you lunch. They will talk to you. You will have a very memorable moment. But Mike, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. It's always a pleasure to chit chat. Well, now you and I have talked. This is our third time, because we did the virtual Q&A with each other, which was really good. Y'all can't know what happened in the virtual Q&A, because what happens there stays there.
Yeah, so stays in the virtual Q&A.
But it's always so great to talk to you and have you on. So thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for just being you. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you, Tony, and all of you. Thank you so much for caring about me and Charlie and the whole journey and everything, and your great questions, and I appreciate you a lot. So.
Thank you for
you as well.
Great work while it lasted.
Thank you.
And thank you for being an advocate for pit bulls, by the way. That's something I wanted to bring up.
Oh, yeah.
Your dogs are adorable. I love the fact that you I think I saw a post where you preached, like, it's not the breed, because pit bulls get like a horrible rap and everything, and they're lovable, adorable dogs. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, they really are. I truly believe that it's nature versus nurture, because my boys, like I'll take them on hikes and there'll be other aggressive dogs around and they'll just look at me like, what's wrong with them? Like they just have a mean bone in their body, you know?
Yeah.
And so I genuinely think that it's nature versus nurture.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Mike. One last thing, because I would get in so much trouble if
I was waiting for
don't
that.
do this.
One more.
Okay.
Here we go.
You guys know my wonderful mother. I still don't understand. I have to teach her how to sign on to the chat. I just think she just doesn't want to do it.
Won't.
She doesn't want to do it. She just likes texting me, because she texted me earlier and said, "Don't worry, I'm not going to text you." And then Mike came on and she was like, "I lied." So she wanted me to let you know that she is very upset that Charlie got shot. But you did a great job. So that is from
Thank you,
Mama Moore.
Mama Moore. What's her name?
Mildred.
Mildred Moore.
Yes.
I feel like Mildred Moore and I would be friends. Mildred Moore.
I guarantee you, if you met my mother, which I mean, chances of that happening are very good, because she comes to the events that I host sometimes.
Okay.
You will absolutely love her. So
okay.
And
well, thank you, Mildred. Thank you for saying that. We're gonna be friends.
And now you have just made her day. And when you sign off, she's going to text me and probably want to know, how do I follow him on that thing? So you'll have a new fan. She's gonna go and talk to everyone. She said, "Ooh, y'all won't believe this cute little boy named Mike. So say hi to me, and we friends." So here you are, Mom.
Oh, Mildred, thank you.
Oh gosh. Well, thanks again, Mike, again for coming on. And we, of course, wish you nothing but success. I mean, you're going to do great. So we can't wait to see all the stuff that you have coming up. And of course, we're going to cross our fingers and our toes and our eyes and pray to the Salem gods that somehow, some way, you cross us again in Salem. Yeah. Listen, we'll take it as Charlie goes. Come back and haunt Claire. We don't care.
Charlie goes. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see.
And of course, before you leave, she replied and she said, "We are friends." So there you go.
There we go.
We're friends. She's quick. My mom is too quick. I'm gonna have to
I know, right? I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. My friends are quick. Mama Moore is quick.
There you go. There you go. She's
all right,
quick.
Mildred. All right, I'll see you later.
Wouldn't be surprised. She'll text you right back. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thanks, Mike. We appreciate it.
Thank you both. Thank you all so much. And until I see you next time.
Yes. Until next time. We'll make it happen. If you ever want to promote, just say, "Hey, I want to come on and talk." So you're always welcome.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Yay!
That was fun.
Hey,
Yay.
Michael. Well, never mind. We'll say that later. I also got a text from Michael Mattis, but I'll share that later.
Oh, I got it. Yeah.
But I forgot what I was going to say. That was I love that he was able to come on and just like kind of talk to us about that. I was really curious about like what he saw when the door opened. Like that was one of like my main questions. But he
gave a lot too about that. Yeah.
He knows.
Yeah, and it's such a testament to how he is as a talent, because like, you know, for everyone to be like, no, like don't have Charlie go, like that says a lot. So. Because there's been some people on the show that they've been like, okay, goodbye.
They've been like, when is this person leaving?
So much.
Scenes and they're like, we're done.
Right. Well, all right, guys, that's it. That's our show. Of course, before we go, Michael Mattis, if you hit play on something, we don't hear it.
Why does this keep happening?
I felt like he hit play, and I was just like,
I did hit play.
Nope, we don't hear it.
Oh Lord,
it's okay, Michael Mattis.
Why is it not working?
There we go.
There we go. Michael Mattis. Tell the kind folks where they can find you on the social medias.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at MLMattis.
Justin, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Justin Lee Hareld.
And Araceli.
You can find me on Twitter at TF323Araceli.
And you can find all of us on social media, Facebook, Dishin Days Show, Instagram, Dishin Days, and _ Dishin Days on the Twitter, and Dishin Days right here on YouTube or your favorite podcast station. And you can find Little Old Chocolate Me on all social media platforms at Lounging with Tony. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Special thanks and shout out to Mike Manning for coming by and talking all things Charlie Dale. We will see you guys next week for another full dish of next week's episodes of NBC's #1 award-winning hit soap opera, Days of Our Lives. Until then, have a wonderful week, stay safe, and always wear your mask. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I do all of that, and then I realize I'm the one that is saying this. It happens every time. Okay, here we go again. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.